When you think about countries in the world that might be the target of a massive attack, the tiny Baltic state of Estonia is probably not high on the list. This is Tallinn, the capital of Estonia. It's one of the best preserved cities in Northern Europe, with architecture that dates to medieval times. The Estonians have had a long history of being occupied by the Danes, the Nazis, and especially by the Russians. Estonia is a former Soviet satellite state that regained its independence in 1991. The people here consider themselves more Scandinavian than Russian. Helsinki is only 37 miles away across the Gulf of Finland. And their relationship with Russians? It's a lot like the climate here much of the year. Frosty.
Люди, слушайте меня, блядь, вашу! Нам здесь надо долго простоять!
For 2 days and nights last April, young Russians high on nationalism took to the streets of Tallinn, destroying property and defying police. More than 800 protesters were arrested. One of the protesters, a young Russian man we'll call Alex, says he didn't take part in the violence, but he could sense it was going to be a bloody night. He didn't want his face shown on camera.
The people, they became more angry and angry and angry, and they started fighting. It was physical fight. It was throwing the stones. You can see it on the video, how it was happening. The police, they ran into the crowd. They took some peoples, and other peoples that were in this crowd, they were going to the street. It was very bloody this day. Not only to people, to police also, as I know.
But after the riots came the real attack, a massive electronic bombardment on a scale never seen before. On May 9th at midnight, Moscow time, millions of signals sent from a swarm of network computers hijacked from around the world in countries as far away as China, Vietnam, Malaysia, Egypt, and here in the United States, suddenly launched a cyber attack aimed to knock down the entire country.
Many analysts say that this was the first cyber attack targeted in a very concrete time period against one country.
Linar Vik is Estonia's internet pioneer and a former advisor to the government.
The most important is that leaders of Estonia, but also other countries, realize that cyber threat is a real threat. It impacts not something in the internet, bits and zeros. It's not computers which fight to each other. It's an issue of your regular daily life around you.
It was clearly an issue of national security, and that was why it was also in the attention of the Minister of Defense.
The defense minister also says the government is wired to the max. Estonia's e-government is completely wireless. The cabinet convenes in an all-digital environment where the prime minister's laptop is marked by a traditional gavel and flag. And it, too, became a target when government officials were suddenly flooded with threatening emails.
I could even call it a propaganda war, which is run by Russia against Estonia.
Marko Mihkelson, the chairman of the Parliamentary Commission on European Affairs.
There were thousands of emails, actually, with the same sort of text, which were obviously sort of transmitted in a web and in internet in Russia, and but there were some very specific ones where they also used the language of threatening, politicians, also saying that we come and we get you and you have to pay for this what you have done with your life.
In addition to threatening emails, government websites were defaced with politically charged images, causing a total shutdown of these interactive sites. Dean Turner is Director of Global Intelligence for Symantec, one of America's largest computer security companies.
Criminals have taken the time now to know that, well, this thing called the internet, the web provides them with high levels of anonymity. It's decentralized, it's globalized. You could be located in Timbuktu, targeting a company located in the United States, going through a server that's located in France.
This attack was atypical in that a large portion of the traffic, nearly a quarter at some points in the attack, was coming from infected machines in the United States, which don't have very much bandwidth associated with them. That made it an ineffective attack in some ways, if you just look at the effect on the network. But it also provided an interesting kind of plausible deniability, in that if you ask the Russians what the source of the attack is, they can say, oh, well, obviously it wasn't coming from us, it was coming from the United States.